Sure.
Yeah.
You can say, because you know the name of the area better.
Hello everyone. Brian, hi. Thanks
Hi,
for
how you doing?
making the trip. Welcome to Trinity Estate. We are going to have the recipe, full-on recipe of the 7-hour lamb and flageolet, which is a typical French Easter dish, I think. I mean, this is how I remember my childhood. And we're going to pair this with ACAIBO 2015, which is our estate blend. Here we are in the heart of Chalk Hill. We farm 24 acres of Bordeaux varieties organically since 2012 when Claire and Gonzague-Lurton took over the property. And do you want to move on with the
Yeah, let's get
dish?
started with the dish, and then we can discuss the other stuff. So right here I have a nice big piece of leg of lamb. It's been deboned. This is half of a recipe pretty much. This is a 3-pound piece.
How many people can eat this?
This would be about 4 to 6 people out of this, I'd say. You know, by the time it cooks down, it renders down, and it loses a little bit of its weight in the liquid. We want to season liberally. You know, when you're seasoning the lamb, not only seasoning the lamb, but you're seasoning the base of the stew as well. So you want to make sure when you season it, you get enough seasoning on there to build a proper base of seasonings in the liquid as well as the meat itself.
Is this what we call marinated lamb, or?
It's just seasoned. It's going to be braised lamb by the time it's done. You know, we have it in some liquid, so it's both a dry and a wet process. That's the technique of braising. We're going to use a little butter. You can use butter, you could use olive oil, you could use oil. Vegetable oil is really good. We have a nice smoking hot pan. If the butter smokes a little bit more than normal. So we're going to put the lamb, I put it the fat side down first. And what we want to do is get a really nice sear on this so it gets browned and more flavor.
More juice.
More juice, and it gets little bits on the pan that helps get scraped off once it's
Are we going to add a little bit more butter? I'm a big fan.
yeah, and I like butter too, just to get a little bit more flavor out of it and help the thicken at the end. So got it all in there. So at that point, what we're going to use, you can use either a pot or a crock pot. Crock pot is what I use. Makes it really easy to go around. I forgot one question. I forgot you're supposed to cut it with garlic. But I can do that while it's on there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So don't forget the garlic.
The garlic we started it with, so we cut it up some little slices. Make little sticks out of it. Over here I can push a knife in.
And stuff it in.
Stuff it with garlic. That way it gets
All right, Brian.
Forgot that.
While we are braising the lamb, why don't we have a little bit of wine?
Okay. What do you got?
So we have here some orange wine that is made from Sauvignon Blanc grapes. That would be an extended maceration white wine. Look at how the orange color comes through.
Oh, wow.
That's thanks to the white skin conspiring colors, basically. So it's white wine made like red wine. This is how I kind of like
So it's macerated longer on the skin.
exactly, with punch downs, with pump overs, however you'd like to do it. And it doesn't have this crisp aspect of the Sauvignon Blanc because it has that secondary fermentation that goes through. So it's really white wine made the red wine way, and it's also aged in neutral oak barrels.
Okay.
Which we usually don't do with the Sauvignon Blanc. It's 100% stainless steel. So, please have a sip. Tell me what you think.
Oh wow. You get more mouthfeel from it than you would.
Also, bigger texture. Absolutely. Yes.
A lot of floral notes.
This is a wine that we like to have with a meal or with desserts as well.
Okay.
You know, it goes very well with any kind of fruit pies.
It doesn't have any residual sugars to it?
No sugar at all.
Oh wow. Really nice.
Thank you.
I've never had that before.
And this is our ACAIBO 2015. So this will probably go better with the dish. ACAIBO 2015 is a blend of 75% Cabernet Sauvignon and a little bit of Cab Franc and Merlot. 2015 was a very complicated vintage, but I feel like this is the vintage that you want to pair with that kind of dish.
Okay.
Having our French background, we usually drink the wine with the dish and not on its own.
Yeah.
So we like to make wine to pair with food. And this is what Claire and Movac are also bringing here in Sonoma, their French heritage.
Okay.
2015 was a complicated vintage. Shitty spring, a lot of shatter, not huge yields. But what we find in this wine is that the concentration was much higher. The ratio from skin to juice was smaller, very tiny berries, so not a lot of juice, but thick skins. So a very, very deep concentration.
So lower yield, but
higher intensity.
Yeah. Just while you're doing that, I'd say I got a nice coloring on the lamb itself. I've turned it a few times. So at this point, this is doing what it's saying, like it's doing right now. I would come over and in the crock pot, or a big heavy cast iron pot, like a Dutch oven, I would put the tomatoes. These are just some canned diced tomatoes that I already got. I previously chopped up some carrot, peeled it, chopped it up. They don't have to be very fancy. You just chop them up, rough chop them, because they are going to be strained out at the end of the sauce. Again, I have some onions. 2 onions chopped. Those will go in. Again, they don't have to be any particular size. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go too heavy, too small, excuse me. If you go too small, the amount of time that it's going to cook in the pan, it'll break down and it'll become nothing. It'll murk up the sauce. So you want to make them at a decent size, so you have to judge how long they're going to be in the pot for and all that. Then we have garlic.
More garlic.
More garlic in here. And then we're using a little bit of rosemary, some thyme, a couple sprigs of thyme, if I don't drop it, and bay leaf. Extra bay leaf. So the nice herbs in there give it a nice herbaceous flavor. From that point, it'll take this lamb out because it's got nice sear on all sides. I'm going to put it over on a plate to transfer it. Turn this off for a minute so I don't burn it. This is going to go right on top of the vegetables to give it a nice little base to braise on. Like I said, you can do this in a pot, you can do it in a pan, you can do it however you wish.
Now, are you searing it again after it's been cooked in the crock pot?
No, that is it. That's just get the flavor from that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to use a little, if you can grab me that white wine right there. I can use a little white wine, about a cup of white wine in this pan to deglaze, to get some of the nice fatty bits off of the bottom of the pan. That adds more flavor to it's called fond. We want to get that off and reduce it. Scrape the bottom, get any little bits that are in there. At that point, then we'll dump that kind of just right over the top of the lamb. That's, again, flavor. And then I have about, just a little bit more than I need, but a couple cups of beef stock, demi, whatever you want to call it, and that will go right over the top of this as well. And it doesn't float in the liquid, it just kind of sits about halfway, quarter of the way up the lamb. But by the time this gets done cooking 7 hours later, it's going to be a lot more liquid because it's going to render out the juices. So what we do is we cover this, turn it on for the recommended window, 7 hours. I did it at high heat. And so then I come over here. When it's done, it's really soft. I make sure I take it out super easy, you know, carefully with a spoon, and which I have one done over here now. So I come over
Oh, look at that.
and take this with a spoon just to make sure that it doesn't fall into pieces, because it's, oops.
And it did,
Very, yeah.
but
too.
it's fine.
It's very soft.
That also means it's not dry at all.
Yeah, no, it's very moist. And so, and then I strained out the liquid. And so I have a liquid, a jus that's over here. And so we're not looking for a real like thick sauce consistency. We're looking more for like a thinner jus, you know, than it would be a thick nappe sauce.
Right.
And if you wanted something a little bit thicker, obviously you just turn it on the heat, reduce it down, get it to where you want it. It's smoky in here, sorry. So that's how we do the lamb. Should I continue on talking about the beans then, or
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think we can enjoy a glass of wine after you're done arranging the plate.
Okay. So right here it has some beans, some flageolet beans. I've soaked them overnight. That helps to cook them a little bit quicker. Again, I've taken some chopped onion or sliced onion. So I take an onion, slice it real thin. We put it in the pot. I have a carrot. This is a small carrot. We go bigger, and then we try to do nice little. These you'll actually see.
Thinner.
So those I like to cook thin, keep nice little rounds on them, and go from there like that. Little thing. So this calls for a bouquet garni, which is a herb little packet. So what I do is I take my onion, cut my onion, I come down like this. I take the skin off the onion, and in order to make my bouquet garni, what I did was I took this skin without the little label there, and I take the skin, I take my herbs, I put my herbs in the skin, the bay leaf, the thyme, the rosemary. I could throw a garlic clove in there if I wish as well. Then I roll it. Then I rolled it up like this, so it holds it together. And I put a little piece of string around it, and so I have a bouquet garni. So I put that in here with the beans and the onion and the carrot. Then I put my beans in there with some water, about like that. Then I want to cover it up, and this will take about 2 hours to cook.
All right.
And so then I put it on the stove here, and then 2 hours later, when they're just done, this is an important thing too, is that's when you want to season them. You don't want to season them with salt during the cooking process, because the salt will cause the skins to be tough of the beans, and it'll delay the cooking process. So if you wait till the beans are almost done or done, and then season the liquid and adjust the seasoning to taste, the beans come out softer and
More flavorful.
more flavorful.
Sounds good. So 5 hours in the
Seven
crock pot.
7 hours in the crock pot.
If you want to serve right away, it's 5 hours in the crock pot
Yeah.
to start the beans.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sorry, yes. So, and then, so this is the end product, if you will.
How about you grab a fork?
Yeah, let me grab a bowl. I could plate up one too for you to kind of have an idea of what it looks like. So, I have the beans here, very tender.
Oh, very tender.
Yeah. Let me put some beans down there. And then we get a little bit of the juice. And you can come over here. You know, the bean juice, like I said, the lamb. There you go, perfect.
Et voila.
Exactly. And that should go perfect with the cat.
Cheers, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for making it out here, and hope you're staying
Go
safe
ahead and
and
taste
you're.
it. Thank you. Here's the meat. The bean's tender.
It's really good. You even with that small jus that you put over the beans and the meat, you can really taste it. It's very intense flavors.
Yeah. One other suggestion would be also to maybe just see if you have like a little gray salt or fleur de sel to put on the meat after it's cooked, because it doesn't have quite that intense saltiness that you get from some meats. But
That's right.
like just a little finishing salt would be nice on there.
Would it be useful to maybe marinate it in salt before we put it in the crock pot, or?
Yeah, I would. If it was. It would be advisable, you could salt and pepper it and let it sit for a couple hours prior to doing that, just to give it a little bit more of that saltiness.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, cheers.
Cheers, man.
And cheers to you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.